Hi, I'm Mateo, and today I'm going to be talking about which units are the best overall at slowing enemies in anime Vanguards. As you guys may know, there are quite a few different effects that units may use on enemies in order to slow them down, such as the stunning, the freezing, and the slowing status effects. And all of these effects can be very useful in different situations, so it is kind of difficult picking which one is the best for your team. So hopefully in today's video, I can show you guys which ones you should be choosing for your team and which ones are the best to use in different situations. And if this video does help you out, remember to give it a like and subscribe for more helpful anime Vanguards content. Now let's get straight into this tier list. And keep in mind, I think there are only 6 different units in anime Vanguards that do these types of effects. So we're going to be doing a top 5 tier list with one of those being a special mention. So we're going to go over each of these units from worst to best to hopefully give you an idea of which ones you should be using. So let's just hop right in game and let me show you each of these for yourselves. All right, you guys, so starting off with number 5 on this list is actually going to be Kakashi here. As you guys can see, Kakashi is a stun unit, so he is going to be stunning these enemies every once in a while. Now, the reason why he is the worst on this list and the worst in the game of these stunning slow units is because if we read his passive, basically his stunning ability is a 100% chance, like 50% of the time. So every 8 seconds, he gets 8 seconds where all of his attacks are going to be doing stun damage. And then for the next 8 seconds, he isn't going to be doing any stun at all. Personally, the only reason I'd be using him is for his stun. So the fact that it isn't a consistent 100% chance every time, or just like more common at least, is the reason why I put this on the worst of the list. And it also doesn't have any moves at all. As you upgrade him, he doesn't get any special move or anything. It's just this really small, tiny multi-hit move. So for that reason is why he is number 5 on this list, which brings me to number 4 on this list, which is actually going to be Killua. So here is Killua. Let's give him his max abilities as well. Killua is going to be very similar to Kakashi in the fact that he isn't a 100% stunning or slowing ability. If we go ahead and read his passive, it is pretty much the exact same thing. Every 8 to 16 seconds, he enters a frenzy that gives him a chance to stun. Now, for some reason, I just feel like his stuns are better, even though if you read both of those passives, you would probably be thinking that Kakashi's is better. But personally, just from my experience in game, it seems like Killua's abilities are much better. So for those reasons is why I do have Killua above Kakashi, but they are pretty interchangeable, with Killua sitting at 525 cost and Kakashi sitting at 550. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. Actually, you can place 5 Killuas, so I think that is why in actuality I liked him better than Kakashi, where you can only place 4 of him. So because you are using Killua for stunning, it is just so good that you can place 1 extra unit. Which brings me to number 3 on this list, which is going to be Alligator. As you can see here he is in action. He actually does have some very good stats, so don't mind the stats. So Alligator is a lot better than the last 2 units that we talked about for one main reason, and that's because every single one of his hits is going to apply the slow effect to enemies. Now, obviously, this isn't going to completely stop their movement because it's only going to negate their speed by like 50% or something, but just the fact that he is able to inflict slow on every attack is just a major bonus, because that is essentially all you're going to be using these units for. He is also a 4 placement, so he is the same as Kakashi, so you could basically place 4 of these guys in order to just completely slow down a push of enemies. He also has this pretty awesome cone-shaped AoE attack, which allows you to hit a lot more enemies at once compared to the last 2 that we talked about. Besides that, he is still an epic character, so he is pretty limited in that regard. You're never going to use him for damage or anything else but just to slow down enemies. He is at the same cost as Kakashi at 550 gold, so nothing too crazy. Definitely a good unit, especially if you are just looking for those slowing capabilities. All right, you guys, so moving on to number 2 on this tier list, it is actually going to be Sasuke here. So here he is in action. As you can see, he is quite the beast. Now, the beautiful thing about Sasuke is that if we read his passive, you can see that every single one of his attacks are going to inflict stun on the enemy. And then on top of that, he also deals additional damage to stunned enemies. So if you do use Sasuke combined with Killua or Kakashi, he is going to be very good because he's going to be doing additional damage to all of the enemies that those units are stunning. So Sasuke is overall a very good unit. He also does a load of damage on top of that. Overall, just a very good unit. He's going to hold his own and going to be inflicting a ton of stun upon his enemies. Also a 4 placement unit, so you can get a lot of stunning in while using him. Alright, so keep in mind we have one more unit to go over after this last number 1 unit on the tier list, because he is sort of a special mention and not someone you would really think about as support, but he does have the freezing capability. But right now, number 1 on the list of the best freeze slow stun units is going to be the only other soul freezing unit, Julius. So here is Julius in all of his glory. Let's get a quick spectate going to see how he looks in action. Julius is absolutely sick. Obviously, this is going to be the shiny version. Now, you get Julius from the battle pass when you get him to level 25, so definitely somebody that is very obtainable for all of you. Julius is also a 3 placement, so you can place 3 of these guys. Now, the beautiful thing about Julius overall for me is the fact that, of course, like Sasuke, for example, every single one of his attacks are going to freeze the enemies. Now, for me personally, I think freezing is a little better than stunning. And overall, if I am just looking for a unit that is supposed to slow down enemies at the start, Julius just overall does the best job because he does an insane amount of damage. And he also has this massive circle AoE hit move, so he's going to freeze all of the units that are in this little circle and do an incredible amount of damage on top of that. So he is just overall the best for me personally. If we go ahead and place just like a couple more, you could see that with multiple placements of this guy, you are absolutely going to be stopping enemies in their tracks. Overall, Julius is just an amazing unit, and if you are looking for somebody in your team that is able to slow down the enemies while another one of your units uses their AoE or just attacks them with a lot of damage, then this is most definitely your guy. And moving on to the last unit of this tier list that we're going to talk about, which is the special mention, we actually have one of the best units overall in the game, who is Gojo. So over here is Gojo in all of his glory. Now, the reason why I didn't put Gojo on the actual tier list for this video is the fact that he doesn't get his freezing ability till upgrade 8 with this void. So if we go ahead and use this ability, you guys will see how good his freeze is. As you can see, everybody in his range is going to be frozen for the time being of this void. And then he also does 50% additional damage while that void is active as well. Now, this is very good, and you can also turn this on auto. So basically every 60 seconds, he is going to be freezing everybody in this big circle. So I'm not too sure if this is enough to really be calling him a support unit. He's just overall a GOAT of the game. But if you are trying to slow down units at the start, you're obviously not going to use Gojo because he is so expensive and his freeze only lasts for 10 seconds every 60 seconds. So that's not really enough to actually slow down enemies. So I don't think anybody's actually going to be using him for that specific capability. Overall, though, still one of the best units in the game and definitely somebody that should be on any meta lineup right now. If we go ahead and give him his next upgrade, upgrade 9 max purple, this gives him full AoE as well. He's going to freeze everybody in this circle and then apply AoE damage to them at 50% increased damage. So as you can see, he's hitting upwards of 70,000 diamonds on these units. Sorry, I think my mouse was disconnecting while I was talking there. But yeah, that is why Gojo is our special mention of the video. Overall, one of the best units in the game, and he also does have that freezing ability, so I just thought we had to talk about him. But that is pretty much it for this video. Hopefully that gave you an insight onto which freeze units you should be using. Sasuke is very good, obviously, as well as Julius. Julius just seems to take the cake for me just because of how much damage he does. At Julius's max, he is doing 30,000 damage, which is just, it's just broken, honestly. And then on top of that, every single one of those 30k damage attacks that he does is going to freeze enemies, so he is just absolutely insane. And then besides that, obviously, Gojo, if he was actually on the tier list, would have probably been number 1. But just for the fact that he doesn't stun on every attack, and you can only stun at upgrade 8, and it's every 60 seconds, just makes him pretty much not viable for this specific purpose. Now, if this video did help you out, remember to give it a like and subscribe for more helpful anime Vanguards content. Hope to see you guys in the next one, and peace out.